Hi, this is Jason DeCanio for another edition of Jay's Retro Toys and Games, and it's another week here on the program. Season 2, Episode 31 for Monday, October 17th, 2022. This is take 3 of a game that we've been trying to launch onto the program for quite some time after Axis and Allies. Well, we're going to finally do it tonight and move forward, finally. With a board game for 2 players on a board of 10 by 10 squares, playing 40 pieces representing individual officer and soldier ranks in an army. And the pieces have a Napoleonic insignia. And the object of the game is to find and capture the opponent's flag, or to capture so many enemy pieces that the opponent cannot make any further moves. And this game has been so popular since 1946. And there was even a world championship. It's the game's governing body. And there's so many versions of it. We're going to look at that game tonight. It's STRATEGO right here on Jay's Retro Toys and Games right now. All right, good evening to you all. Welcome to this edition of Jay's Retro Toys and Games, episode 31, on this Monday, October 17th. And we hope that you had a great weekend. It's been kind of one of those ups and down weekends, more or less. But we're in a new week, ready to start this game that we've been trying to tell you about for quite some time. And we're going to do it tonight. So STRATEGO is from the French or Greek strategos, for a leader of an ancient, especially a Greek army, first general. The name STRATEGO was first registered in 1942 in the Netherlands, and the United States trademark was filed in 1958 and registered in 1960 to Jacques Johann Mogendorf, and is presently owned by Jumbo Games as successors to Houseman and Hart. Headquartered in the Netherlands, it has been licensed to manufacturers such as Milton Bradley, Hasbro, and others, as well as retailers such as Barnes & Noble, Target stores, etc. This description is of the original and classic games. Many variant shapes and colors of pieces and boards have been produced in the decades since. The game box contains, or the contents are, a set of 40 gold embossed red playing pieces, a set of silver embossed blue playing pieces, and a folding 15.5 by 18.5 rectangular cardboard playing board, and printed with a 10 by 10 grid of spaces. The early sets featured painted wood pieces, later sets colored plastic. And the pieces are small and roughly rectangular, 1 inch tall and 3/4 inch wide, and unweighted. More modern versions, first introduced in Europe, have cylindrical castle-shaped pieces. Some versions have a cardboard privacy screen to assist setup, and a few versions have wooden boxes or boards. Now, typically, color is chosen by lot. One player uses red pieces, and the other uses blue. Now, before the start of the game, players arrange their 40 pieces in a 4x10 configuration at either end of the board. The ranks are printed on one side only and placed so that the players cannot identify the opponent's pieces. Players may not place pieces in the lakes or the 12 squares in the center of the board. Such pre-play distinguishes the fundamental strategy of particular players and influences the outcome of the game. Players alternate moving. Red moves first, and the right to move first does not significantly affect gameplay, unlike chess. Each player moves 1 piece per turn. A player must move a piece in their turn. There is no pass, as in the game of Go. 2 zones in the middle of the board, each 2x2, cannot be entered by either player's pieces at any time. They are shown as lakes on the battlefield and serve as choke points to make frontal assaults less direct. The game can be won by capturing the opponent's flag or all of their movable pieces. It is possible to have ranked pieces that are not movable because they are trapped behind bombs. Now, in unusual cases, it is possible to draw, for example, when both players' flags are protected by bombs and each player has 1 remaining piece, which is not a minor. The average game has 381 moves. The number of legal positions is 10 to the 115th power. The number of possible games is 10 to the 535th power. STRATEGO has many more moves and substantially greater complexity than other familiar games such as chess and backgammon. However, unlike those games where a single bad move at any point may result in loss of the game, most moves in STRATEGO are inconsequential as players think in games, not moves. Now, all movable pieces, with the exception of the scout, may move only 1 step to any adjacent space vertically or horizontally, but not diagonally. A piece may not move on to a space occupied by a light color piece. Bomb and flag pieces are not movable. The scout may move any number of spaces in a straight line, such as the rook in chess. Now, in the older versions of the game, the scout could not move and strike in the same turn. In newer versions, this was allowed, and even before that, sanctioned play usually amended the original scout movement to allow moving and striking in the same turn because it facilitates gameplay. No piece can move back and forth between the same 2 spaces for more than 3 consecutive turns. It's a 2-square rule. Nor can a piece endlessly chase a piece it has no hope of capturing. More square rule. So when a player wants to attack, they strike by touching an opposing piece with their piece or moves their piece onto the square it occupies. Both players then reveal their piece's rank. The weaker piece, you see the exceptions below, is removed from the board. If the engaging pieces are of equal rank, both are removed. A piece may not move on to a square already occupied unless it attacks. 2 pieces have special attack powers. One special piece is the bomb, which only minors can defuse. It immediately eliminates any other piece striking it without itself being destroyed. Each player also has 1 spy, which succeeds only if it attacks the marshal or the flag. If the spy attacks any other piece or is attacked by any piece, including the marshal, the spy is defeated. The original rules contained a provision that following a strike, the winning piece immediately occupies the space vacated by the losing piece. Competitive play does not include recording the game, unlike chess. The game is fast-paced, no standard notation exists, and players keep their setups secret, so recording over-the-board games is impractical. However, digital interfaces such as web-based gaming interfaces may have a facility for recording, replaying, and downloading the game. Those interfaces use an algebraic-style notation that numbers the rows, the ranks from 1 to 10 from bottom to top, and the columns, they're the files from A to J from left to right. Alternatively, a few interfaces designate the files as A to K, omitting I. Moves are recorded as source square, followed by destination square separated by a move or a strike. Revealed pieces on strikes precede the square designation and may be by either rank name or rank number for brevity. For example, Major B2 X Captain B3. The bottom half of the board is by default considered to be the red side and the top half the blue side. And unlike chess, STRATEGO is a game of incomplete information. In addition to calculated sequences of moves, this game gives rise to aspects of battle psychology such as concealment, bluffing, lying in wait, and guessing. And you've got your classic pieces. There are 7 immobile pieces, 6 bombs and 1 flag, and 33 mobile pieces per player. They can move to the adjacent square in horizontal or vertical direction, with the exception of the scout, which moves any distance. From highest rank to the lowest, the pieces go in order from, let's see, bomb Then you've got Marshal, General, Colonel, Major, Captain, Lieutenant, Sergeant, Minor, Scout, Spy, and the Flag. Now, the highest ranked piece always captures the lower, except when stated otherwise. Some versions, primarily those released since 2000, make 10, the Marshal, the highest rank, with the Spy ranked 1, while others prior to 2000, as well as the Nostalgia version released in 2002, have the Marshal piece ranked at number 1 and the Spy designated S. The European version depicts pieces with the lower number to be higher ranked, whereas the American version depicts pieces with the higher number to be higher ranked. Variant pieces variant versions of the games have a few different pieces with different rules of movement, such as the cannon, the archer, possibly a different name for the cannon, spotter, infiltrator, corporal, and cavalry captain. And in one version, mobile pieces are allowed to carry the flag. In some variants, such as Stratego Waterloo and Fire and Ice Stratego, all or most of the pieces have substantially different moves. Japanese military chess has been sold and played since as early as 1895. These are, although it is unknown by whom and when it was invented, Dr. Christian Junghans reported this game as Monascheft magazine in Germany of 1905. It seems only after reading his article, Julie Berg took out a patent on a war game in London and Paris in 1907. Similar to that, hence Hermanens Edon took a patent for La Attaque game in 1909 and sold them in 1910. The main differences between the Japanese military chess and Stratego are Japanese military chess needs a referee to resolve the battles of the pieces. The flag is only placed only on the headquarters, and a player who successfully occupied the headquarters of the opponent shall win the game. There are no scout pieces, and an engineer, an analog of a miner, can remove mines and tanks. In France, the name of the game is called French L'Attaque. There's an earlier H.P. Gibson and Sons games. And the classic was created by Dutchman Jacques Johann Mogendorf sometime before 1942. The name was registered as a trademark in 1942 by the Dutch company Van Pearlston and Roper Bosch N.V., which also produced the first edition of Monopoly. After World War II, Mogendorf licensed Stratego to Smeets and Schippers, which is a Dutch company, in 1946. Houseman and Hout acquired a license in 1958 for European distribution, and in 1959 for global distribution. After Mogendorf's death in 1961, Houseman and Hout purchased the trademark from his heirs and sub-licensed it to Milton Bradley, which was acquired by Hasbro in 1984. In 1961 for United States distribution, and it is introduced to the people of the United States as the American version of the game now popular on the continent. 2009, Houseman and Hout was succeeded by Konin Kink Legic Jumbo BV in the Netherlands. The modern game of Stratego, with its Napoleonic imagery, was originally manufactured in the Netherlands. Pieces were originally made of printed cardboard and inserted into metal clip stands. And after World War II, painted wood pieces became standard. Starting in the early 1960s, all versions switched to plastic pieces. The change from wood to plastic was made for economical reasons, as was the case with many products during that period. But with Stratego, the change also served a structural function. And unlike the wooden pieces, the plastic pieces were designed with a small base. The wooden pieces had none, often resulting in pieces tipping over. This was disastrous for that player, since it often immediately revealed the piece's rank, as well as unleashing a literal domino effect by having a falling piece knock over other pieces. European versions introduced cylindrical, castle-shaped pieces that proved to be popular. American editions later introduced new rectangular pieces with a more stable base and colorful stickers, not images directly imprinted on the plastic. European versions of the game give the Marshal the highest number, 10, while the initial American versions give the Marshal the lowest number, 1, to show the highest value. More recent American versions of the game, which adopted the European system, caused considerable complaint among American players who grew up in the 1960s and 70s. This may have been a factor in the release of a nostalgic edition in a wooden box reproducing the classic edition of the early 1970s. Then electronic Stratego was introduced by Milton Bradley in 1982. It has features that make many aspects of the game strikingly different from those of classic Stratego. Each type of playing piece in electronic Stratego has a unique series of bumps on its bottoms that are read by the game's battery-operated touch-sensitive board. So when attacking another piece, a player hits their strike button, presses their piece, and then the targeted piece. The game either rewards a successful attack or punishes a failed strike with an appropriate bit of music. In this way, the players never know for certain the rank of the piece that wins the attack, only whether the attack wins, fails, or ties, similar to the role of the referee in the Chinese game of Luz Hankui. Instead of choosing to move a piece, a player can opt to probe an opposing piece by hitting the probe button and pressing down on the enemy piece. The game then beeps out a rough approximation of the strength of that piece. There are no bomb pieces. Bombs are set up using pegs placed on a touch-sensitive pegboard that is closed from view prior to the start of the game. Hence, it is possible for a player to have their piece occupying a square with a bomb on it. If an opposing piece lands on a seemingly empty square, the game plays the sound of an explosion and that piece is removed from play. As in classic Stratego, only a miner can remove a bomb from play, and a player who successfully captures the opposing flag is rewarded with a triumphant bit of music from the 1812 Overture. In the late 1990s, the Jumbo Company released several European variants, including a 3- and 4-player version, and a new cannon piece, which jumps 2 squares to capture any piece, but loses to any attack against it. It also includes some alternate rules, such as Barrage, which is a quick 2-player game with fewer pieces, and Reserves, which are reinforcements in the 3- and 4-player games. The 4-player version appeared in America in 1997. Starting in the 2000s, Hasbro, under its Milton Bradley label, released a series of popular media-themed Stratego editions. Besides themed variants with substantially different rules, current production includes 3 slightly different editions. Sets with Classics, 61, piece numbering highest rank. Sets with European piece numbering, and the highest ranking equaling 10, and sets that allow substitution of 1 or 2 variant pieces such as cannons, usually in place of scouts. Sets produced since 1970 or so have uniformly adopted the rule that scouts can move and strike in the same turn. July of 2022, DeepMind announced the development of DeepNash, a model-free multi-agent reinforcement learning system capable of playing Stratego at the level of a human expert. Stratego and its predecessor, La Attaque, have spawned several derivative games, notably 2 20th century Chinese games, Game of the Fighting Animals, and also known as Jungle or Animal Chess, and Land Battle Chess. The game Jungle also has pieces, but of animals rather than soldiers, with different ranks and pieces with higher rank capture, with the higher rank capturing the pieces with the lower rank. The board with 2 lakes in the middle is also remarkably similar to that in Stratego. The major differences between the 2 games is that in Jungle, the pieces are not hidden from the opponent and the setup is fixed. According to historian R.C. Bell, this game is 20th century and cannot have been a predecessor of La Attaque or Stratego. A modern, more elaborate Chinese game known as Land Battle Chess or Army Chess is a descendant of Jungle and a cousin of Stratego, played on a 5x13 board with 2 unoccupiable spaces in the middle, and each player has 25 playing pieces. Then you have Tri-Tactics, the game of the generals, and a battle for the temple. There's different publications like the vast literature for chess, checkers, and backgammon. As of 2019, there is a single Stratego book from beginning to winner, written by Richard Ratcliffe and published by Steel City Press. Then you have your classic versions, your 50th anniversary versions, so many versions, just like Monopoly. And the list goes on and on. And then you have competition. Classic, Lightning, Dual Stratego, Stratego Barrage. You have the World Stratego Championships. There was other tournaments. And it goes on and on, folks. And there you have it. Stratego, in its simplest form, expanded out since 1946. Well, we're going to be looking next time at some toys, because that's about the time that we're going to be looking at it. So let's see. In the next line of toys that I have to talk about, let's see, what are we looking at? We'll be looking at Rummy Cube. I think that was, yeah. I think we talked about that. I don't know. Let me see. No. We have not talked about Rummy Cube yet. And I don't see it in our... Okay, so we'll be doing Rummy Cube on Wednesday. And then on Friday, we'll be doing the ever-popular game that we was going to talk about, Toss Across. That should be real fun. So we'll be looking at those two games. Well, no, those are games. I'm sorry. I need to look at toys. Oh, friends, I'm losing it today. I don't know why. All right, let's see what we can do here. Oh, my gosh. We want toys. We don't want games. Well, remember, folks, we're going to be looking at Easy Bake Oven sometime in November. That was on Easy Bake Oven Day, so we'll look at that game later on. Now, well, I don't see anything of that sort. So, in this case, mark your calendars for Wednesday, because on episode 32, we are going to be looking at a toy that has been around for a long time. And I'm talking about going all the way back. Wait a minute now. Hold on. Okay. I'm going to type this in right. We're going to look at this toy that has been around since 1953 and now owned by Mattel, which purchased the brand in 1997. It's a popular toy brand, and it was given its name because the original die-cast toys were sold in boxes similar to those in which matches were sold. You know what I'm talking about. Matchbox. We'll look at Matchbox cars on Wednesday, and then we'll look at Hot Wheels on Friday. That's coming up all this week, episode 32 and 33. I'm Jason DeCanio. Hope you enjoyed this edition of Stratego. We'll see you on Wednesday for the Toys episode, where we'll be looking at Matchbox cars and Hot Wheels. For now, have a great night, and we'll see you on Wednesday. Bye for now.
Don't forget to subscribe to the David3000 Network for great more content like this one.